This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.
That's number one. You kind of reset me.
Painful, tender to the touch. May also
Same shoulder length, and the other.
Well, welcome to another episode of the Real Health Podcast with Brandy and Amir. I'm Dr. Amir Rashidian, a chiropractor, and Brandy Rashidian is my other half, wife, business partner, life partner, and the mother of the kids, and
Definitely am that.
basically everything. I'm just sitting here, but
He does not sit very much, I will tell you that.
That's true. This is the only time I get to sit, which is nice. I get to spend it with you, which is really nice. So, the Real Health Podcast is brought to you by the Frederick Podcast Network. Can be found on listenfrederick.com, along with YouTube and Spotify and everything else.
It's everywhere.
All the good stuff. So please support and share and subscribe and all the good stuff. Real Health Podcast is where we take all the latest news and information in mainstream media, what people are talking about, what the mainstream media is writing about, reporting, whether it's a new illness or disease or a pandemic or a new drug or whatever else it might be, a treatment. And we'll read it, we'll discuss it, we'll talk about it, and we'll present it to you with the wellness perspective. And our goal for you is that by listening to this, you'll feel better, get stronger, live longer, and feel younger. You'll also be able to share all this information with your family and hopefully benefit them as well.
Yeah.
And having said all that, how you feeling today?
I mean, I'm doing pretty good. It's a rainy day today. It may not be on the day you guys, but on our recording day, we have some nice soothing background noise, some white noise with our big rainstorm, which is
nice,
really beautiful.
actually, because it's warm outside.
Yeah. Now, Sean and I were talking about how when we go out in it, it probably won't seem as nice because we got to carry stuff and load stuff in and out of the cars. But we're going to enjoy it while we're in here.
Sure.
So, although I kind of like to be curled up watching a movie with a blanket when it rains. It's
Or
kind of my
reading a
go-to.
book.
Yeah. Listening to my favorite podcast. What was that, Sean?
Car
Oh, it
wash,
is a free
right.
car wash. Look, Sean's always good at looking on the bright side of things.
And all the cars do need to be washed.
100%.
Goodness.
Well, let's talk about some health.
Yeah, we
We
got
have some
some
good
nice articles for you, and we're gonna talk about headaches. Everybody gets headaches. Some headaches are
Maybe we should
have
not give that to everyone.
names of
Maybe not
children
everybody
on
has
them.
headaches.
We're going to talk about exercise, whether body weight is just as good as using weights in the gym. We will talk about snoring at night. We're hoping to have time to talk about hormone replacement therapy for women after menopause. And then at the end, we'll touch on the measles outbreak. I'm going to do that in air quotes, outbreak. And hopefully we'll have time to discuss that one as well. So we got a lot for you today. There's a couple other things at the end if we get to it. But let's start with this one, which is what to do when your head really aches.
You know, this was a very disappointing article to me. I thought they were going to come out with some really cutting edge stuff like go see your chiropractor. But I will give you a little bit of a
You're not going to see
foreshadowing.
that from the Washington Post. I will assure you that.
Well, I will agree. We did not see that at all. So I thought that was really funny. But
So, I mean, they even talk about cervicogenic headache, which is a neck-related headache,
right.
and they still no mention of
None.
chiropractic care, which is why we're bringing it to you.
Right.
So here's what it says. You may automatically reach for a drugstore painkiller such as acetaminophen like Tylenol or a generic, or the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs ibuprofen, which is Advil or the generic, or naproxen, which is Aleve or the generic form. Some medications aren't safe for people over 50. That includes me now. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
But I wonder why they say, I don't know. Does this bother you? They say they're not safe for people, may not be safe for people over 50. And I go, are they safe for people under 50?
They're really, I mean, we've seen many cases where
So if you're 49 and
Have at it.
364 days,
they're saying have at it.
take a bunch. And the next day you turn 50, you're done. It's not safe anymore.
You want to know what I think it is? I think that in this country, especially, the older we get, the vast majority of people are on more than one pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk about that? Because that is, I think, more of the issue
That's
because
probably
there's
why it's not safe,
contraindications. Right.
because most people over 50 are on multiple
I'm like,
prescription
you're
drugs.
not on any prescription drug. You take tons of supplementation.
I'm very deprived.
And
which I must have a deficiency of prescription drugs.
You must. Not of supplements. You do a good job with that.
Yeah,
but,
no deficiency of supplements, but
Oh,
I'm
gosh.
deficient in.
But although according to them and many articles we read, you are living on the edge, my friend, taking all of those dangerous supplements like
yeah.
vitamin A. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're
Sorry,
gonna talk
Sean.
about that one. Sean got upset. You were banging on the table
I know.
again.
I can't help it.
These are microphones, woman.
Yes.
The first step is knowing what type of headache you are having. While the did you know there was such a thing called an International Headache Society? Sounds like IHOP. International House of Pancakes. You got the
House of Headaches.
International House of Headaches. International Headache Society. What do they do like all day? This society, do they meet like once a month?
Well,
and talk
clearly
about
they're not
headaches?
doing anything innovative when it comes to research
So
with headaches.
they've identified hundreds
Thank God.
hundreds of types of headaches. That's crazy. Hundreds of types of headaches. I mean, why do we need so many? Older adults tend to have tension type, migraine, or cervicogenic headaches. If your past headaches have been only occasional and they have now changed or occur more often, see your doctor. You could have other problems with the brain, glaucoma, sleep apnea, or kidney or thyroid disease. Well, or a whole host of other stuff. So yeah, if you suddenly start having headaches you didn't used to, or they become really frequent, severe, definitely do that. In fact, when someone says this is the worst headache of my life, it's actually pathognomonic for an aneurysm. So if someone,
Which is funny because I've said that to you before. I've been like, I remember having a headache once and it was so intense for me.
yeah, and we did an MRI.
You did ask, so.
We ordered an MRI and checked your brain. There's a brain there.
Yeah, it's a good brain.
We found it. We saw it. It's nice.
We weren't wondering.
Thank goodness.
It was not in question.
I actually did a brain MRI on myself once, and I found out I have a brain.
Yeah.
I was having those exertion headaches. That's something the article doesn't talk about.
Right.
But
It could be one of the 100 they discovered.
it was a vascular issue. I think it was in the scalp. And every time I would exert I started lifting weights. It was just before I turned 45. I started lifting weights. 3 months of heavy weight training. And the minute I'd pick up a weight, I'd get a headache. I couldn't
Right.
take the trash out.
Right. I remember.
And so I thought it was a terrible headache. So I thought I was going to die, and went and ordered myself an MRI, and they said there's nothing wrong with the brain or the vasculature. So I went to Dr. Brian Tuckey. Is he a doctor? He's a physical therapist, but I believe
he is.
Either way, he's written many books. He travels with Tony Robbins across the United States.
He's great.
He's helped a lot of people with things like this. He has perfected the counter strain technique, and he works on neurovascular bundles to get rid of things like that. He helped me tremendously. So let's talk about each one of these tension type headaches. It could be jaw, neck, and scalp muscles that tense up, sometimes in response to stress, and may feel like a band squeezing the head. Now, I've had tension headaches. It didn't feel like a band. Typically for me, it feels like just pain in the forehead, but I haven't had one of those in I don't know how many years. Prevention, it says sufficient sleep, regular meals, and exercise. I don't know. Regular meals. I mean,
what they're doing is they're saying if you combat your stress, that's basically if you combat your tension with exercise, it'll reduce.
But I mean, there's blood sugar headaches you can get, and I think that's more related to the regular meals, and they're not talking about insulin and glucose issues at all.
Well, because I really feel like this is a huge broad stroke. There are so many triggers could be for many of these.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, let's just know that sufficient sleep, regular, good, healthy meals, and exercise are good for you in general.
They're going to
Can-
prevent cancer, diabetes, heart disease.
anything lifestyle, right? You're going to reduce your risk overall. So those should be standard. It's funny that we even use that as like preventative advice. Like,
It is funny.
guys, we should just be doing that anyway. Exercise every day. If you can't get to the gym, I struggle some weeks. 6 months ago, I had more playtime in my schedule, and I don't have as much right now because I'm in a different season. So this morning, I knew I couldn't get to a full workout. So I knew I had time before I got the kids to school to do some push-ups and to do some squats. So is it everything I needed to do? No, but was it something to help me get started? And I did some stretching today. That's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in a season. So even that is gonna be a benefit. So
Yeah.
it never has to be an all or nothing. And I think that's what gets so much of us in trouble when we're trying to start healthy lifestyle
Yeah.
adventures, right? Is it feels all or nothing.
So my bodybuilding coach increased my cardio to 45 minutes a day on top of 5 weight training sessions of between an hour to an hour and a half. And how do I do it? Well, I take that 45 minutes and I divide it into 3, and I'll do 15 minutes here, then 15 minutes another time, and 15 minutes before bed. I'll try to get it in.
Yeah.
But
And sometimes that's walking the steps, and sometimes that's like it doesn't have to be in the gym
Yeah.
on a cardio machine.
Yeah.
Like, we have stuff we can do.
And look up 4-minute workout by Dr. Zach Bush. You do the 4-minute workout 4 times a day, and you get tremendous benefit. So a 2023 study published in Frontier in Neurology found that people who did 12 weeks of neck and shoulder muscle strengthening reported shorter, less severe tension type headaches. Also, they advise limiting daily caffeine to 2 cups of coffee.
Which, again, should be that way anyway. Like,
Yeah.
these are all like,
And there's caffeine headaches, like and rebound headaches. So I mean that's different than tension. They lump it in. For treatment, it's common. Reduce the tension in your neck. Stop doing computer work. It says they say to take a hot shower or put water bottle on your neck. I don't know. Sometimes ice is a stronger antispasmodic than heat, but heat might feel good, and
Right.
so I'm not against that.
sometimes we have patients do both
Yeah.
at the same time, depending on what kind of
Well, and
headache
that's
or
more
migraine they
for
have.
migraines, and
Right.
we'll get to that in a second. But they talk about taking over-the-counter drugs. I read somewhere that medical doctors are not trained in over-the-counter drugs.
Wow.
They don't have any. They get 0 training in medical school on over-the-counter drugs,
That seems safe.
which is why a lot of times they don't even ask you if you're taking anything over-the-counter.
Although, what's funny is they scare people when taking whole food supplements and herbs,
Yeah.
but they're like,
Yeah.
chemicals are way scarier
I mean,
for the body.
the first thing, if a doctor asks you what kind of vitamins and supplements are you taking, the next question should be, is it synthetic or is it food-based? Is it whole
Right.
food?
And if they're not asking you that, they definitely don't know what they're
They
doing.
don't understand it. And they should also ask if it's fractionated, because whole food vitamins are very different than fractionated vitamins,
Right.
and those are different from synthetic vitamins. Go back and watch the Dr. Keppel episode.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's a great resource.
We dove so deep. It was a 2-part episode, and we talked deeply about that. Just search for Dr. Keppel in the platform you're watching us on.
Sean, can we link that for people? We'll link it.
Okay. So anyways, they're saying taking an NSAID, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory over-the-counter drug, twice a week raises chance of medication overuse headache. So isn't this funny? Like, so if you take it twice a week, you may get medication overuse headache. This is, I guess, one of those hundreds of types of headaches that the IHOP Society came up with. And then they talk about biofeedback and making your muscles relax. More than 10 headaches a month is bad. I'm thinking, I would think 1 headache a month is bad. Right? So they're like, you're fine. You only had 9 headaches this month. But anyways, here's one thing I do know is painkillers reduce the pain, lower your pain threshold. So you're more susceptible. Every time you take painkillers, the next time you're more susceptible at pain, and everything starts to hurt. So sometimes, this is my theory, people who take a lot of over-the-counter pain medication are more susceptible to fibromyalgia, which is a pain condition. Everything hurts. Hugging them hurts. Touching them hurts. Everything hurts.
Crazy. Okay, let's talk about migraines and then the cervicogenic.
So
And
10% of older adults regularly have the throbbing, pulsing pain of migraines, which can last hours to days. It's usually on one side of the head, but some people get it in the whole head. Older adults are more likely to have eye tearing and runny nose. For prevention, they say consistent eating and sleep schedule. Again, keep a now this
again, guys,
this
that's the basics.
this part I like is to keep a headache diary to help pinpoint triggers to avoid. Which, and common triggers for migraines, they don't mention this in the article, which I don't know why, is chocolate, wine, peanuts. There's one other one. You can look it up. So they say get regular exercise. 6 small meals a day is what they want you to eat. Balance of protein, fiber, and healthy fats. Your doctor may also suggest supplements such as magnesium. Now, magnesium relaxes your blood vessels. Most migraines, and they don't mention this, most migraines are vascular, and the blood vessel dilates, and it causes the stretching of the blood vessels what causes the headache. It's usually on one side of the head. That's why caffeine or a lot of the over-the-counter headache drugs have caffeine in them is for that reason, because caffeine constricts the blood vessels. But this is something. They say beta blockers such as propranolol, and antidepressants such as amitriptyline, Elavil, and anti-seizure drugs such as I've heard of this one. I've heard of all of them, but Topamax is common for. But why are they taking an antidepressant? You got a migraine, so we're gonna make sure you're not depressed about your migraine.
But here's the thing: they're not even saying that that's the relationship.
No, they're not.
Do you know what I mean?
They're just saying
then
take it.
You're dealing with other issues because most antidepressant medications, if you want to come off of it, like it is hard and miserable.
Especially Elavil. I thought Elavil was for like, bipolar people or something.
That's just crazy to me that's but this is that whole thing with off-label use. Like, here's what's mind-boggling to me. We're going to read another article that is like slamming somebody for recommending vitamin A.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you people not like?
Yeah, because beta blockers are heart medication. Beta blocker reduces blood pressure. It blocks the adrenergic receptors so that adrenaline doesn't raise your blood pressure. That's what a beta blocker does. So it's for people with high blood pressure, not migraines, but this is the first drug they list.
Let's talk through that. So somebody has migraines. They put them on a medication that lowers their blood pressure.
And
this is an athlete.
Prevention too.
Right.
It's not just treating the migraine.
Right. So it's an athlete, say, and they're now running up and down the court. And what needs to happen? Their blood pressure needs to rise, right?
Yeah. What typically happens is catecholamines build up in the body, and they can't hit the receptors, and so they build up in the body, and then if you stop taking the beta blocker, they all hit the receptors all at once, and your blood pressure skyrockets. So that's why it's dangerous to stop taking those without supervision. And then they also talk about Botox injections.
That sound like, to me, why would anyone ever want botulism to be put into their body? Botulism, like,
yeah, but it deadens the nerve.
I know why they do it, but I'm like, why would anyone want that bacteria in, like, that's so weird to me.
So the American Migraine Foundation, I guess this is different than the IHOP Society or International Headache Society or whatever it's called. The American Migraine Foundation suggests dimming the lights and applying cold compress to your temples and the back of your neck. Massaging your neck may relieve tension, stress, which can exacerbate pain. Blah blah. Over-the-counter meds again.
Yeah.
If not, triptans such as sumatriptan, Imitrex, naratriptan, rizatriptan, which is Maxalt, may be effective, but these aren't advised if you have cardiovascular disease because they may constrict blood vessels in the heart. And then they talk about, now when it comes to cold compress, so before I mention what they mention next, is a lot of times if you want the blood vessels to constrict, all you do is put an ice pack on the back of your head, upper neck area, and get in a bathtub with hot water. Hot water causes your blood vessels to dilate, and it pulls the blood away from your brain, and the cold pushes the blood away and constricts the blood vessels. And that seems to, 10 to 15 minutes in hot water with ice pack on the back of your head will help. If you can't do that, put the ice pack in the back of your head and run your hands under running hot water. That may help too, or just put your feet in a bowl of hot water. Now, at home, they talk about electrical stimulation devices that stimulate specific nerves, such as the trigeminal nerve, which is the nerve that comes out near the jaw, goes to the brain stem where migraine pain starts. Not always, but whatever. And then they talk about this thing called the CGRP antagonists.
I don't want anything antagonist in my body.
So CGRP is a potent vasodilator. It gets released in, I believe, not inflammatory, but painful situations. It's released by sensory nerves. And I don't know too much about it. But when you block that using a CGRP antagonist, it blocks this neurotransmitter and it doesn't dilate the blood vessels. And so you don't get the migraines. Now let's talk about the one I know most about, which is cervicogenic headaches related to the neck. It says right here. It can also limit your neck's range of motion. It can last for hours or days, often caused by osteoarthritis in your upper spine and neck. Osteoarthritis can make the nerves at the top of your spine more susceptible to pain. Everything is correct. So what's the best way to take care of the spine?
Remove the interference.
Correct the alignment and reverse the loss of range of motion. Relax the muscles. I mean, nothing's better than chiropractic adjustments. Keeping your neck muscles strong and flexible can help prevent and treat cervicogenic headaches.
Safer than medication too.
Yeah. It says a physical therapist can help. And practice good posture. When sitting, keep your back and neck straight. All right. Well,
and by the way, we love PTs, but they cannot do what we do.
I love PTs.
Yeah. So, but a physical therapist cannot correct the spine like a chiropractor can.
Yeah, I refer people to physical therapists all the time because I'm not a physical therapist. And they can do things I can't do, but they need to realize we can do things they can't do, just like, medical doctors. So anyways... And then we talked about headache emergencies. If you get a sudden severe headache, please go to the ER.
They're not something to be messed with.
Yeah, especially if there's like numbness, drooping of the face, things like that. You're thinking stroke, aneurysm, bleeding in the head, whatever. Let's talk about exercise, since exercise helps with those headaches as well. It says, this is from New York Times, our bodyweight exercise is just as effective as lifting. Many people believe that to build strength, you either need a set of weights or a gym membership.
No, let me tell you, you go on YouTube and you look up Brownie. He's that bodyweight guy from like New Zealand or something that
he's jacked.
Correct. And he is amazing. And his whole platform is bodyweight exercise. And let me tell you, they were doing some nutso stuff. Our boys used to watch them, and then I caught, so it's still pops into my feed. And they had all these pull-up, different variations of pull-ups they were doing. They were doing like, they didn't one finger or like two finger like pull-ups. They were doing, these guys are jacked. It's nuts.
Wow.
Yeah. So now you want to go do those, don't
The
you?
research, no thank you. Research suggests that for most people, the answer is yes. Your body doesn't care if you're doing a bench press or push-ups. The muscle is agnostic. All it recognizes is tension on the muscle. I 100% agree with that. But there's something a little bit more efficient about using weights, in my opinion. I mean, is it your goal to, start with, you can only do, let's say, 15 air squats, and then you get in shape. So 30 days from now, you can do 30 of them.
Right.
And then 3-4 months later, you can do 50 of them. Right. Now you can do 200. I mean, is it your goal to do air squats 24/7?
Correct. So then you go, how else can you begin to train that muscle? So you do hit a limitation.
Yeah, and unless you continue to increase the challenge and intensity, you're not going to change. Your
or
body
a
doesn't change.
variation of that exercise so
Right.
it hits the muscle
Yeah,
differently.
you'd have to make it more difficult and more difficult. And there are ways to do it. It's just you have to get really creative. You have to find videos like Brownie's videos and all kinds of stuff like that. But the article says the secret to success is failure, which makes perfect sense. No matter how you do it, strength training fundamentally requires you to exercise your muscles until it's nearly exhausted in order to get stronger. It has to challenge you, and you have to fail. Not like fail to the point where you injure yourself, but you can't do another repetition with good form. You could cheat and get the weight up, but without cheating, using good controlled motion, can you do another repetition? If you come up halfway, you just can't get it all the way back up. That's you did good. You put the weight down. And your muscles will grow and you will get stronger.
And this should be a great thought process for those of you who are thinking, oh, I can't even, I fail every time I walk in the gym. I don't know what to do. Your exercise, it's all about failure, right?
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
like, you want to fail at your exercise. Not saying you want to do it improperly,
Correct. But you do it 3 or 4 times,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you'll be able to do one more repetition.
exactly.
And then an extra couple reps become easy. Now you'll increase the weight and do more. So if your goal is just to get stronger, numerous studies have shown that you can get similar results from either bodyweight exercises or lifting weights. In a small 2022 study, they asked regular exercisers in Minnesota to switch from their weight room routine to bodyweight workouts at home. The changes in strength, at least over 3 weeks, were similar. And that's the thing. You do anything for 3 weeks, you're going to get stronger. Now, you do the same, you continue that over 30 years, I guarantee that people who use weights are going to get stronger than people who use body weight.
Correct.
Just I believe that, but that's my opinion. The same was true in a Japanese experiment comparing push-ups to bench press. Both resulted in similar strength and muscle gains. Yeah, but listen, let's take a seasoned weightlifter, bodybuilder, whatever, and who can, let's say, bench press 300 pounds for 5 reps.
Right.
And take away the weights and say all you can do is push-ups, and let's measure if their strength increases.
Right.
So they take them off the bench press for, let's say, 3 weeks, like the other study was, and then after 3 weeks of only doing push-ups, go back. I promise you, he won't be able to pick up the 300 pounds.
Right.
He'll be weaker.
I would also venture to say you'll probably see some atrophy in that bodybuilder as well. Do you think? Do you think you're going to lose some of the muscle fibers?
If he keeps doing push-ups, I don't know if he'll lose muscle fiber.
Okay.
But I mean, science says yes, he should lose some. He should get smaller because the
You're not
need
putting
for
as-
that.
right.
So you can't get maximal contraction. Even as on a maximal contraction, you're only recruiting about 70% of your muscle fibers.
Right.
So in a push-up, I think you're maybe recruiting 30-40%. So yeah,
I'm probably
I can't
recruiting
see.
a little more than that, but
Well, you're a recruiter. That's why. So this other study said that increasing weight with the same number of reps was roughly as effective over 2 months as increasing reps at the same weight. And that I believe that because it's time under tension, but also it's total volume that counts.
right.
So if you do 10 reps at 100 pounds, that's 1,000 pounds of volume. You can do 2 reps at 500 pounds. That's also 1,000 pounds of volume. Either way, you get stronger. As you get stronger, the exercises you're doing will naturally get easier, and you have to find ways to keep your effort level high in order to improve, which is why I say it's so much easier to just go to the gym and increase your weights. And you know, maybe we won't go through the rest of this because it talks about injury and so on, and obviously you're at higher risk of injuring yourself when you're picking up heavy weights in the gym. But most of the injuries, they said, was because people dropped the weights on themselves.
Oh, I believe that.
So you know, they're just picking up weights they shouldn't be picking up. You know, wait till you get stronger and you can pick up those weights. Bottom line is this. I'm going to finish with this one sentence. If you can squat down and get back up with some weights on you, holding it in your hand or putting weight on your back, your own body weight will never be an issue.
Right.
And what happens as people age is they have trouble getting up out of the chair. Well, if you can get up, if you can squat and get up with even a 10-pound weight, your body weight is going to feel light to you.
Right.
And that's why you should be using weights. I think everybody should use weights. My opinion is this article is wrong. And it also says not everybody wants to get jacked when they work out. And I go, well, if you're going to work out, why not get jacked? That's, again, my personal opinion. What's
Not
wrong?
everybody
What's wrong with
wants big guns, I guess.
changing your physique? I mean, we're already so limited as it is.
It's true.
You know, genetically, hormonally, you
Right.
know, situationally.
It's
there's
not like most of us will ever look like
nutritionally.
Arnold.
Yeah, I mean, so you know how many things have to be perfect for that? So many people go, I don't want to go lift weights because I don't want to get too big. You won't.
Yeah.
Trust me.
No problem.
You will not get too
Especially
big.
with that mindset,
Ask,
mister.
ask anybody who goes to the gym regularly. They'll tell you how hard it is to get that big.
It's literally a perfect recipe. Like you
Oh,
have to
yeah.
work at it nonstop and you have to constantly be making slight changes.
Right.
Like all the time. Like you have to watch it nonstop. It is not the average person, you and I, we are never going to go to the gym at the level we go and
Right.
ever look like that. And not without like a 100% commitment to intentionality. Like
Oh, yeah.
we won't ever hit that. So no worries. That should make you feel better. Go work out to your heart's desire. You'll never
Yeah.
be that large.
Go pick up those weights. Don't rely on body weight only. Do body weight stuff. Do yoga, do stretching, do cardio. I think you need to lift weights once a week.
So let's talk about snoring.
Do it. Don't snore. Just talk about it.
Snoring sucks. All done.
Oh,
Is that good? No.
we're done with that article.
Sorry. Snoring typically affects one person more than it does the other. Usually it's the snoree, not the snorer.
That's if you're in the same bed together.
That's if you're in the same bed. Actually, one of the later recommendations is do a sleep divorce. I thought that was really harsh. Go sleep in separate rooms, be together, create some more quality time elsewhere outside of sleeping, but divorce your spouse from the bed.
I mean, where I grew up, most houses had one bedroom in the whole house.
I know.
And everyone slept like pretty much like that's how it was. I mean,
And it didn't matter if dad was snoring in the other room, you were going to hear it in the room
the
next
whole
door.
house vibrated.
That's
the
right.
walls shook. The windows jiggled.
So it says what leads to snoring when muscles that keep the airway open become relaxed when you sleep. Your airway can narrow, causing soft tissue in your throat to vibrate with each breath. Those muscles go to sleep when you sleep. So this is why people often snore after drinking alcohol, which relaxes those muscles as well. People who are overweight or obese tend to snore because extra tissue in the tongue and throat can hinder airway. And of course, congestion can also constrict the airway. So people snore because of cold or allergies. So it says for partners who snore regularly, the first step is to rule out obstructive sleep apnea. So this is a serious condition, blah, blah, blah. We all know, and this is not about sleep apnea, so we're not going to talk about that. Most people with sleep apnea snore, but not all people who snore have sleep apnea. So just know they don't always go hand in hand. You can go to a qualified specialist in order to help diagnose if need be.
Just so you know, apnea means stop breathing.
Yes.
So this is about people who stop breathing in the middle of the night, and they suddenly take a big deep breath,
Right.
and then they breathe for a little bit and they stop breathing, and it's dangerous because it deprives the brain of oxygen. And a lot of diseases in the body are because of lack
Including
of oxygen.
like type 2 diabetes. It can
Yeah,
lead to.
even
So,
arthritis. The body needs so much oxygen. We cannot be depriving it at all. So everyone should get tested for sleep apnea. If you snore, go get a sleep study done just to find out.
yes. But you also might want to, like, if you do have a few pounds to shed, try that. Like, use some of those body weight exercises we talked about in the prior article and see if that doesn't help. They also, so here's, if you don't have sleep apnea, because we're putting that aside, here's a couple of things that you can do if you're what's called a simple snorer. Doesn't that sound nice?
A simple snore.
You're a simple snorer. You're not a complex snorer.
Is there an international snoring society?
There probably is. If not, we should start one.
Done.
So here's number 1, discourage mouth breathing. This does not mean you need to stand in front of your partner and point your finger and tell them they're terrible for being a mouth sleeper. There are things that you can purchase over the counter to discourage that and to promote nose breathing. So nasal strips, clearing the sinuses with a nasal rinse, using like a neti pot or whatnot to make sure that there's nothing hindering. If there is a more permanent blockage like a deviated septum, nasal polyps, you may need to see somebody for that. Promote side sleeping. When you're on your back, gravity can cause your airway to narrow, which can result in snoring. So encourage your partner to sleep on their side. You can place firm pillows behind them to keep them from rolling.
Or duct tape a tennis ball to their back.
I thought you were going to say to their mouth, which would also do it, but that is not recommended.
Duct tape your ears shut. That'll solve it too.
Not the person snoring.
I'm not recommending that.
The person.
If you duct tape anything, you can't do the mouth and the nose. You got to only do one.
Otherwise, the police get involved.
Yes.
So we are not recommending that. Choose one. Tune out the sound. So get some white noise for the person who is not the snorer. That's for the snoree, not the snorer. And don't knock the sleep divorce. So if you want to send them to another room or to the couch, your chiropractor may not recommend the couch, but your medical doctor might. Here's the other thing. We actually, I used this before. There is an essential oil also that if you put a little bit on the bottom of the snorer's foot, it actually causes them to stop snoring.
Wow.
I went on a trip with a girlfriend of mine to Mexico. She had won a trip for her job and she was single, so she took me along, and she was a big snorer, and so I took that with me, knowing, because she admitted that, because we were going to be sharing a room. I'd never shared a room with her before, and so I brought that, and then I told her, I'm like, if you start snoring, I'm going to swipe this on you. And sure enough, like, I put it on her. She did not snore. It wore off in the middle of the night, so I woke up, I put another, and it was peaceful the rest of the night. I was like, okay, I don't know the science behind. I don't know if the oil is like opening up the bronchial. I have no idea. It's got to be something with the respiratory, but I just thought that was hilarious. So it did work. It was a Young Living oil, but blend.
I would pour it all over her.
It's only on the foot. And people go, why the foot? Well, on the bottom of the foot, you have they're the largest pores in the body, and we have the most pores in like one area. So whatever you put on the bottom of the feet is going to get into the bloodstream very, very, very quickly. Like we were talking about, Dr. Barbara O'Neill actually recommends, if you have a baby who is under the weather, take a slice of garlic and make sure you put a barrier between the baby's foot and the garlic. So like a piece of fabric, and then so you have the baby's foot, a piece of fabric, and then the garlic, and then you keep wrapping it around like almost like an ace bandage. And then in a few hours, you'll actually smell the garlic on the baby's breath.
Wow.
Because it gets into the bloodstream, but you have to make sure, don't put garlic against the skin because it'll cause a blister. But it's very great to do for kids when they're not supposed to have that in their digestive tract. So
I love garlic.
yeah, garlic's great.
Keeps the vampires away too.
It sure does.
Although I think oregano does a better job with vampires than garlic.
I agree. So
Personal opinion.
We have two types of articles left.
Yep.
So we have one on menopause, and we have one on the measles outbreak.
Yes.
Which would you like to do? Because I don't think we have time for both.
All right, menopause is a big deal.
Okay.
So we'll hold off on that. Let's talk about something light.
Something light like measles.
Light and fun.
Perfect.
Something that has a rash.
It's funny.
All right. So this one is Washington Post, and it says RFK Jr.'s focus on vitamin A for measles worries health experts. So there's a measles outbreak in Texas. CDC has recently updated their recommendations supporting administration of vitamin A under the supervision of a physician for those with mild, moderate, and severe infections. So the CDC says he's right, giving them vitamin A, but They say it is not a replacement for vaccination to prevent measles. Anti-vaccine activists have long touted vitamin A as an alternative to immunization, concerning public health experts and doctors who worry that Kennedy's public statements will legitimize this view. So, anyways, I'm not here to judge the pro or the pro or anti-vaccine people. What were you gonna say?
Well, we're talking about vitamin A, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's talk a little bit about vitamin A and what the actual risk factors are, because they talk about I mean, in all these articles we read, they're like, it's so risky to take vitamin A if you take it.
They're not even talking about what type of vitamin A, because there's a type of vitamin A you can take as much as you want and it won't hurt you.
Right.
It's called beta carotene.
Right. So, but even at that, like they're talking about when they say you got to watch out, don't take too much. They're talking about like the normal is 700 to 900 micrograms, right?
Yeah, and then they say 10,000 IUs, and I don't know how the IU compares to the microgram.
Well,
but,
if we
but
just
I know
stick
it's
with the
significantly
microgram,
more.
though, they say don't take high doses in one day. Well, high doses in one day is they're talking about like, I think it was, sorry, I'll have to look back, but it was like astronomical. We're talking about like
Yeah,
100,000, like
above 10,000 they say is toxic, but they're talking about pure vitamin A, not beta carotene.
right.
So you're looking at less than a tenth of the toxic dose is what they're recommending.
And they say no more, and you shouldn't take more than 1,000 a day, right? Or no, I'm sorry, more than 3,000 a day would cause toxicity. But you're talking about a third of that, less than a third of that on most of the daily dosings. Do you know what I mean? So they throw those things out there and go, be careful. But like literally, why are they not happy about finding that vitamin A where they say nothing else works against measles, nothing else helps, and we have something that's like literally a vitamin, has little to no risk. And I will tell you guys what I found. Here's where I think the real basis of this is. Are you ready for it? In most of the acne medications, they have vitamin A.
That's right.
In it, right? And let me tell you,
the drug Accutane is a type of vitamin A.
and the dosing in it is far beyond what they are saying is toxic.
And you have to build up in your body. You have to build up to that dose until the acne goes away. So
yeah, so I just go, they're
definitely overreacting, and
it's huge.
it's more
it's
of
like the whole vitamin D thing.
It's a political thing,
right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So anyway, that's all I had to say about that.
It says
But that was very
before the measles vaccine, nearly every child in the United States contracted the infection, and there was an average of one death for every 1,200 cases. 1,205 cases from 1953 to 1962. Why did they only look at 9 years?
It's a great question.
Why didn't they look at longer? I think they probably,
because
that's probably when the death from measles was the highest. But also 1950, if I'm remembering correctly, 1954 was a big polio outbreak. And this is after the polio vaccine had been invented.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, a 6-year-old unvaccinated child died in Texas last week. Breaks my heart.
Yeah, which is very sad.
The first U.S. measles death since 2015. So, 1 in 10 years.
Right.
At least 159 people have been infected in the West Texas outbreak. Of the cases for which vaccination status is known, why don't they know the vaccine status for all 159? So they said 80 were unvaccinated and 5 were vaccinated. But that's only 85. What about the other 80?
It feels like they're not being forthcoming with the data.
Look at their records.
Right.
I mean, everybody has medical records.
Yeah.
This is the United States of America. It's not Zimbabwe.
Our records have records. I'm just saying.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Look it up. I don't buy this one bit how they're like, oh, we only know their vaccine record for half of them.
Right. Okay.
But because most of them, I don't know. I'm not going to say. Studies warn that excessive use of supplement can lead to liver failure and death. I have never seen someone take high doses of vitamin A have liver failure, and yet what I said earlier is true. Beta carotene. So beta carotene is what makes carrots orange, sweet potatoes, anything that's orange, squash, pumpkins, they all have beta carotene in it. Now you can't tell me if you eat carrots all day, you're gonna have liver failure.
Right.
It's not gonna happen. And so beta.
And why? Because your body is smart, and your body is actually going to get rid of what it doesn't need as well.
And I don't know too much about beta carotene, except it's basically like two retinol vitamins, retinol molecules stuck together. It's called a beta carotene, I believe. And so when you have a chain of them, it's not toxic anymore. The body can process it and excrete it and all that stuff. It's when you take it in the pure vitamin A form that it can be toxic, but at extremely high doses, which
Very
I
high
don't think
doses.
anyone's gonna do.
Yeah. Here's something cool, just like a little tidbit. Carrot seed oil actually can be used as a sunscreen, like as a skin protectant from the sun.
Wow.
So like when we're out at the beach and stuff, I often either have products that have carrot seed oil in it, or I'll like do my chapstick, which is going to be a clean product, not like one of your commercial things that I'm cautious about what I use.
Right.
And then I put carrot seed oil with it, because carrot seed oil is going to protect them, and then it protect my lips or my skin, and then I don't have to worry about it.
There you go.
How nice is that?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, if you have acne issues, taking high doses of vitamin A and vitamin C together can help reduce the acne.
Right.
Obviously,
He's not saying high doses like what they were talking about.
not the toxic dose.
Right.
Don't take the toxic dose,
Yeah.
and don't do
Don't
it for the
ever
rest
take
of
the
your
toxic
life.
dose.
Just do it for a few months,
Right.
And do it under supervision of a naturopathic physician or a functional medicine doctor who know these things a little better. And if you're already on a drug for acne, then certainly don't do that. And they mentioned cod liver oil in the article. Cod liver oil has vitamin A and vitamin D in it. And again, this is food-based, so I can't see that becoming toxic.
Right. And usually in these articles, when they are talking about vitamins and toxicity, they literally do not talk about like the forms that we're discussing. They're
Right.
talking about lab created,
Correct.
which is vastly different than your unfractionated, whole food vitamins. So
All right, we good? I mean, the other articles talked about, I'll tell you the title of it, as measles spreads, Kennedy, they're talking about RFK Jr., embraces remedies like cod liver oil. And no one likes that, because
Right.
cod liver oil has vitamin A and vitamin D naturally in it, and people don't like natural stuff. And then this article says, Kennedy said measles outbreaks are not unusual. Here's what the data says. And they talked about some data about how it is unusual, but it's all relative.
Let me just tell you how unusual it's
Please,
not. Okay,
educate us.
Because when I hear this, to me, like 100 and some odd cases, 200 cases, I go, okay, that's sad, but for me, that's not super alarming. But I was like, well, if we haven't had any cases in 10 years, okay, well, maybe that feels alarming.
What's funny is they also talked about how a lot of these kids like have a rash and it's very mild and like they're fine.
Right.
And nothing happens to them.
Correct.
So you can have an extreme of people die of the flu, people die of the common cold.
Correct. So this data goes back to, and this is only U.S., measles is something that is much more common in other parts of the world.
Yep.
The U.S. With this vaccine has seemed to have limited their cases
And it's
compared to
because
some
of
other
vitamin A
countries.
deficiency, because they're malnourished in other parts of the world.
Right.
But continue.
So 1985, let's just say, the case number in the U.S., the number of cases was 2,822.
Wow.
This is years after the vaccine has been in place, guys. And then in 1986, 6,255.
Wow.
1987, 3,652. 1988, 3,410. Now, watch this. 1989. Are you ready for this? 17,914 cases. And we right now are calling this a what? What is this outbreak? And everybody is so scared. In 1989, it was 17,914 cases.
And today it's 159 people.
Right. 1990, 27,808.
Back in the 80s, the whole anti-vaccine thing wasn't that much of an issue either.
No, people did not talk about it.
Everybody got vaccinated.
Well, but there were also a considerably less number of given to children at that time.
Yeah, but just be careful what you say here.
Well, I'm just saying there
It's
were.
true. It's true.
There weren't as many
Yeah.
that people thought about.
There weren't the 39 doses.
Right. 1991, it went down to 9,643. 1992, 2126. And then 1993, it dropped to 312. 1994, back up to 899. Then 308, 492, 141, 100, 99 is where it was in 1999. It was 99 cases.
Huh.
2000, it went down to 85. 2001, 116. And then it dropped in 2002 to 44, and then 56, 37, 66, 55, 43. 2008, it jumped to 140. 72, 63, 220, 55, 187. 2014, 667.
And see, I don't think all the cases get reported anyways, because a lot of these cases are mild.
Right.
A lot of people get
They probably
measles
don't even know that's what it was.
They don't even go to the doctor. They're like, hey, I got sick. Didn't our little guy have a rash recently?
Yeah.
He had like cold symptoms and a rash.
For like a day.
And it went away. So we didn't check. We didn't go to the doctor or anything. What if that was measles?
Yeah. Or it could have been dermatitis. It could have been like, there's so many things. 2019, 1274.
Wow.
But we probably didn't hear a lot about that
That's 6
because there are
years
other
ago.
things we were talking about.
We were getting ready for COVID.
Right. And then 2020, it dropped down to 13.
Probably everybody got lumped. Everybody got diagnosed with something else.
Exactly. And then 49, 121, 59, 285 in 2024. And now in 2025, it's 164. So I go, it's actually not what they're saying it is.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like this year is any worse than any other year. And
I tried to go back because they go, oh, well, the rate of unvaccinated people has risen. It really, according to their stats, it really hasn't. It's been sitting at like 91.5 to 92%
the only
consistently.
The only difference is we got somebody leading the Health and Human Services who likes natural stuff, likes chiropractors, likes vitamins, likes food therapies.
And he's not anti.
He's not.
vaccine safety, and there's
he wants
a difference.
it to be safe, and so do we all. We all do
Yes.
the same thing.
Safety
And
first.
I'll tell you, none of us are anti-vaccine. We are all pro safety, pro health. We want everybody to be healthy, and you prove to me that it's 100% effective and 100% safe, and I don't have any problems with it.
Yeah, and if it's not, let me make the decision.
But it's not 100% effective because half the people who get it are vaccinated.
Right.
So it's not effective. I don't know about the safety issues. Read the label on the product.
You can
There-
actually
there's
require that they
plenty-
give it to you.
Please require them to give you the label of all the vaccines that your children take. Read those labels.
Yep.
Just for education.
You should read the label on the food they eat.
Yeah,
Read the labels on everything.
we need to know what goes in our bodies.
100%.
So, I appreciate you guys. Please like, subscribe, share. Hope this was valuable to you. Do you want to do the menopause hormone replacement therapy for ladies next time?
Sure.
Unless something really big shows up in the news, maybe we'll do this one next week.
Sounds good.
Until then, God bless you. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
See you next time.
This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.